everybody, my name is Miranda White, as you may have seen me in other videos, and my partner is going to be Philip Grissom, and we are going to be talking about the U.S.-Iranian policy of non-engagement. Just to give you a heads up, we're going to be doing this video in about 4 different 15-minute increments, just so it's a little easier to put on YouTube or online or wherever we're going to be putting it. But so if you see little pauses every 15 minutes, that's why. But I guess I'll go ahead and get started on the presentation. The reason why we chose the U.S.-Iranian policy of non-engagement was just because, Iran just seems to be everywhere in the headlines, and just, their nuclear program is a really big issue today. And also, the whole non-engagement thing, it's kind of important more than ever right now, just because of the time that we're in right now in regards to interacting with Iran. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide, which is the thesis slide. And our thesis is that continuing a policy of non-engagement towards Iran will lead to a nuclear armed state. And this is definitely unacceptable. While Iran's track record with negotiations with the U.S. is poor, the U.S. has to develop a multifaceted engagement policy in order to deny Iran a nuclear weapons program. And then efficacy will be ensured by containment combined with carefully considered options for rollback. And the U.S. intention should be to buy time. And we're kind of buying time because the younger pro-U.S. Iranians need to get into power before they are able to do anything about, success in regards to the U.S. interests and our policy and everything. So the U.S. intention should be to buy time while it waits for this younger generation in Iran, who are more moderate, to rise to power, and that younger generation will be the key to the overall success of this, of doing this whole non-engagement thing. And so the next thing, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We're going to be talking about basically what the non-engagement policy is and what it entails. There's a lot that goes into it, and it covers a multitude of issues, so it is really important to cover this policy. So, in understanding the policy, we are going to be going over a few different things. First, we're going to be going over the key terms of the policy. After that, we're going to be going over the current policy right now with the Obama administration. And after that, we're going to be going over the history of U.S.-Iranian relations. I know non-engagement seems to be something where we're completely unengaged with them and not even negotiating or discussing with them. But as we'll explain later, it's something that is a little bit different from that. And, there actually is negotiation going on, but we're going to be explaining those kinds of terms and what kinds of things go into this non-engagement policy. If you'll go to the next slide, the key terms we're going to be going over are appeasement, engagement, containment, rollback, non-entanglement, in other words, non-engagement, hard power, and soft power. And these are going to be terms we're going to be using later in the presentation, so it's kind of important that we go over them right now. So the first term we'd like to go over is appeasement. And, it's when a country attempts to alter the aggressive intentions of another country through either unilateral political, economic, and or military concessions. The main drawback about this is the fact that concrete concessions exchanged for hope, and that's the drawback. Pretty much appeasement has no teeth to it. There's no, no real strength in that strategy. In order, we're going to have to show some amount of strength in order to get this policy taken care of. And then you've got the next key term, which is engagement. You've got, basically, engagement is ongoing political or economic contact with an existing counterpart or adversary. The aim of this, in terms of engagement, is to use economic power to integrate states into the world economy and alter their behavior through peaceful means. So, engagement, could be anything, and, we want to do it peacefully. The next slide is our key term of containment, and that is the traditional balance of power policy that tends to feature negotiation or hard bargaining between adversaries. And the aim of this is for one party to exhaust itself while attempting to compete with the other. And, this is one of the options as far as choosing a different policy rather than non-engagement. There's also, the next key term would be rollback. And this is, something that seems maybe a little more familiar, but this is full-scale war against a rogue state in order to achieve regime change. And, we kind of did the same thing to Iraq with Saddam, and you kind of went in and just went into war and took over and kicked them out because we wanted to see the regime change. So it's kind of that same situation. That's kind of like a rollback situation. And, a note about this is less aggressive forms desire regime change by means of intense military or economic or diplomatic pressure. And basically it's kind of short of outright invasion. So any kind of pressure we can put on them, that would also be considered rollback. Excuse me. All right, on to the next slide. We've got non-entanglement or non-engagement. This is a complete refusal to make any military, diplomatic, or economic commitments of any kind whatsoever. Basically, non-engagement removes one party's potential influence from the equation completely. So, if you have a country saying, we're not going to even, give you any kind of commitment whatsoever, we're just going to, watch back or stay back and watch you do your thing, and we're just not going to commit to you because we don't know what's going on, and we don't know what you're going to do with it or what's going to happen, so we can't make a commitment not knowing the future, what could happen. So, at the same time when that happens, so for example, with America and Iran, America can't really have influence if there's that non-engagement policy. And this is like no influence at all. I mean, this is flat out complete separation. So it's kind of an important point to make. Also, the next slide we've got the term hard power, and I know we're going to go into hard power and soft power. Hard power is the ability to produce desired outcomes that could not otherwise be achieved without force or inducement. So, that we're going to want to produce an outcome that, of course, is going to be more peaceful. America doesn't really want to go in and say, we're going to outright invade and, we're not going to we're not going to take this anymore. We're just going to come in and take over. Something interesting about this that I, talked with my partner about